Rock down, down memory lane. Rock down, see those guys again. Rock down.
1971, 72 and 73, he was the drummer with Chain, The Coloured Balls, Black Feather and even Cold Chisel. Would you please welcome Mr. Trevor Young?
Thank you, Wendy.
How are you, Trev?
Good, how are you?
Very, very good. It's great to have you in here. Look, talking about
Things.
the 70s, I think we'll go back as far as the 70s. We were having a little chat before we went to air, and you were saying that you rue the day that coloured television came in.
Well, I don't know if I rue it so much as, I mean, it is lovely and all those things, and it had to happen. But I think there was a definite switch between when before colour television, in the music sense, bands were really inventive, very much focused on music and dedicated to music. And then with the advent of colour television and other things, it seemed to, with the exception of a few obviously, change the course from a musical passion and so on to a showbiz passion.
More contrived.
Exactly, and let's dress up. You know, so the music was sort of diluted from being the main focus of the whole exercise. And in some ways that's sad, because it's a bit like telling Leonardo da Vinci that if he was to paint a chapel in Australia, it's fantastic, Leonardo, but you must do it in black and white stripes and do it for nothing. And it seems that that's instead of appreciating what was becoming, in my opinion anyway, an amazing Australian music culture. You know, songs were really written from,
It was the music.
It was the
about
music. It was about the music and not about all the other stuff.
Yeah, well, image now is so important, isn't it?
Oh,
Everyone's
yeah,
doing their own
absolutely.
film clips, and
Absolutely.
that seems to be the. Sometimes I could imagine people even have a clip in mind before they write a song.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And their marketing plan and how they're going to try and convince people to like them.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if it's music, it doesn't matter. It's the song. You know.
Well, you also were not just the drummer.
I'm a human being too.
You're a human being, a singing human being. And
When allowed.
But that's something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have been aware of, the fact that you sing, write.
Yeah.
And Duke magazine, evidently you helped.
Well, look, I'm
establish
just,
Duke magazine.
the way I play drums, I live with a lot of energy. And like the way, again, with music, I've always been asked, hey, Trev, come and fill in here, could you help out here, and blah, blah, blah. A friend of mine, Ed Nimmervold, was starting Duke and needed some people because, as you know, with all pioneering ventures, there's no money in it.
Yeah.
And so the most required element is energy and people who are prepared to get down and, you know, get with it. So he needed someone. I went in there and really pleased to see that it went on for years and years and years. But obviously when it was sold to The Age, that wasn't in line with my spirit of things, you know, 9 to 5, you know. So I, you know, left it to its natural resources. And same with things like Tag magazine, you know. I helped Guy Mick and John and a few other people.
That was the little
That's
mag
right.
that you could
Exactly
pick up in the
right.
city. And
Exactly. And it was free.
Yeah, free.
And it
free
was to
people
help
do it.
people and, you know, show them where alternative, for a better word, for want of a better word, you know, where the musicians were. And Tag was a great little thing. But again, you know, it's very hard to do things, as you know, without money. Yeah. And so a whole lot of, you know, degenerative things happen when you don't have the bucks to support. So that found its natural evolution away. But I was really determined, and so I did A to Z magazine. And because I have also a natural way with natural health, and I've always, you know, believed in it and all the rest of it. You know, I was born a hippie. so I did A to Z of health as well, which was a fantastic magazine. So I love communicating.
You've done a lot. You've done a lot of very, very interesting things.
But I still feel I haven't done enough.
Well, it doesn't sound like you've stopped yet.
No, I hope not.
I just wanted to ask you, how did you end up playing with Cold Chisel?
Well, again, my lot seems to be that when all else fails and you need someone to fill in, give Trevor a ring. So I got a call from this band called Cold Chisel, whose drummer...
When was this? This was
this
very early days.
It was 80s, you know, before they released anything. And they were still forming as a band and really working out all those wonderful, you know, connections as people do when they're working together as a band. And so, yeah, I got a call and would I fill in because the drummer, Steve, had broken his ankle. And so I very quickly jumped in without rehearsal at all. Just walked on stage and played with them, and I love that because that means they're brave and they knew what they were doing and they had, you know...
Well, obviously they knew what they were doing when they rang you as well.
Well, I don't know. I hope so. Well, Jim and I to this day are still what I call excellent soulmates, great soulmates. I saw him at Lobby's memorial concert and I hadn't seen him for 20 odd years because, I mean, you know, in this business there's friends that want to be with you all the time and there's real soulmates that when you do see them again, you know that the connection's still real.
Still there, yeah.
And so it's that sort of friendship. And so I did that and I loved every minute of it. But at that time, my life was changing. You know, they were still only earning $40 a week and working their butts off. And I just couldn't follow through with it. And besides, you know, really Steve had put his heart and soul in that band. It was his band.
It was his band.
And it was similar with Chain. Little Goose, Barry Harvey, who's also a dear, dear friend. He had an accident and that's why I filled in with Chain. I just happened to be sitting in a lounge room and someone said, oh, Goose has injured his arm, he can't play. We've got 8,000 people at North Melbourne Football Ground, what are we going to do? And someone said, oh, Trevor plays drums. Oh, Trevor, you want to do it? Yeah, okay. So I played with them for 9 months and played in Moala, which was fantastic. And then, you know, Goose came back and, of course, he's still playing with Chain today and he's probably one of Australia's greatest drummers, you know, and a lovely man. So I do those things. I'm happy to let them go because I don't believe in possessive type of thing.
And didn't Steve have another accident?
Yes.
He broke his leg again?
Yes. And
You sure you're not doing this?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, if I had his address, I would have done it a few times. But yeah, no, yeah, he did. And so I was flown up to Canberra to play at a concert with the Angels and, you know, In Excess and so on, and that was great. But it was one of those things where it was one of those loves that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, it was something that you would have really loved it to, but circumstances meant that, yeah, that the wiser action had to take place.
But the thing is that you really have done so many different things. And one of the main reasons that we're doing this show is to let people know what we're all doing now.
Yeah.
And
I think that's fantastic.
Of this little
Collection.
display over here, you've been a very busy boy. We're
Very
going to take a
busy
short
boy.
break and we'll come back and talk about that in a minute.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. Our special guest, Trevor Young. Now, this show is all about letting people know what's happening out there in the market at the moment. And it looks as though you've been a very, very busy boy. What have we got here?
Well, what we've got here is a whole bunch of friends, which is, again, probably what this show's all about.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people. Sam C, Glenn Mason, guys from Blackfeather, you know, Bob Spencer, Bill Putt, Mike Rudd. In fact, 28 musicians, Jimmy Sloggett. And we put together a show and I insisted that everyone do original songs only, right? And otherwise they weren't going to be on the bill. And everyone did. And there were some beautiful songs on there. And it shows just a small section of Australian talent, the real
Where
stuff.
did you record this?
It was recorded live at the Comics Lounge, and yeah, it's absolutely fantastic stuff because it's real and it's honest. So I put that together, and I've still got cupboards full of them, like everyone has.
So this is the DVD
and the CD
and the live CD, and
Yes.
there are 28 of Australia's best loved musicians.
Well, you know, some of them mightn't even be well known, but they're great musicians and great spirited human beings.
This is amazing. We have links
Yes.
so that when you go to Wrokdown's website, you of course will have a link to Trevor's own website. Now, also, we were talking a little earlier about the fact that so much is happening these days through the website.
Yes.
And you've had all of these inquiries from overseas.
Well, well, from nothing, more than nothing is a lot of inquiries. But I have had some stunning, what I call stunning, great vibes. Because after that, I used my last lot of money to produce Some Drummer, which is Jimmy Sloggett actually forced me to do it. He really just twisted my arm, something shocking, and then sent it up to his son Matthew to help me with the mastering. So I released that and then put it on the website. And for instance, a song on there called "What Do You Know," which you might play later, was most requested song in Spain for a week. It's been the most requested song in Montreal for a week, in Minnesota for a week, and it's giving me emails, and I'm sending off 5, 10, 15, in a couple of cases 25 copies by snail mail to people who have requested it after hearing it in these different parts of the world. There's a really different type of love song on there called Young Jane. It's about my wife, and that was #1 in Paris. And I sold 15 within a week by mail to people who heard it on this radio station in Paris.
But see, isn't that amazing? This
Amazing,
all happens through
right?
the web. Most artists over a certain age can't get arrested on the airwaves here in Australia. Isn't it true, isn't it?
Well, they get arrested, but they don't get let out of jail.
But you know what I mean?
I do.
So
yeah.
this is wonderful, and it's a fabulous cover.
Thank you. Well, a friend of mine, Ted Blackall, painted that from an old photograph. Yeah.
And you've written the words and music
Yes.
of all the songs.
Yes.
This is fantastic.
See, I play at home by myself because when I'm not playing in a band, like most people, I have a little studio and I have keyboards and stuff, and I just work. But I refuse to work with drum machines, obviously.
Put yourself out of a job.
That's right, yeah, which they did. And I don't use with sequences or anything like that. So I basically turn it on and, just play and basically jam with myself, if you like. And the lyrics for Young Jane came in one take. I was down the paddock, sitting down there, just talking to my horses and my wife and my dog and stuff, and then got the flash about what the lyrics should be to this song, Young Jane, and walked straight up, turned the microphone on and sung it. One take, and that's the lyric. We kept it. I didn't re-record any of that. It's sort of like I did it all multi-track and played all the instruments. And then Jimmy and his son Matthew came in and took my bass off and put a real bass player's bass on, and tidied things up like that. But the vocal, which I'm personally very, very proud of, was just one take. I didn't write anything down, and it just literally came straight out.
Is this the song that we're going to be hearing it later on?
Oh, I think you're going to hear What Do You Know, which is basically also a great song and was sort of one take. But just that Young Jane was very special, and someone picked it in Paris. That's what my point was, that in the fact that these are small numbers of feedback, 5, 10, 15, 20 copies here and there. It's not like, pay the bills, if you know what I mean. But it's really interesting to get the email.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating because the people who actually picked Young Jane as a love song, it stunned me. And a couple of responses from Paris were, the vocal is so real, so honest, You couldn't have pre-recorded that, How would they know that it was that spontaneous? Because they've felt it. And that's what, obviously, you too love about music.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and be back very soon with our special guest, Trevor Young.
Thank you.
Wrokdown.
See, the thing is that, especially in Australia, I noticed, as compared, say, to England, I was there in the mid-70s, hardly any gigs that you could play at.
Well, that's right.
Tiny little places.
That's right.
Here in Australia, we all had the opportunity
To work at it. Absolutely. And
So
that's
our act actually evolved in
Absolutely.
a very honest,
Absolutely.
organic way.
Absolutely. Like we were talking about earlier, that's the way it was, say, from the mid-60s to the mid-70s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly right. I mean, 5 gigs a week was average. Sometimes on a Saturday you'd do an afternoon, an early night, and a late night. Some weeks you'd do 9 gigs. But what it made was that for musicians to work at it. Whereas these days I'm trying to put a band together now, and I'm trying to grab players, and we did our first gig about 2 weeks ago. I don't think there's any gigs in the future. But my frustration is that, like you just said, we can grab musicians, we can put them together, but you've got to work at it. And if you can't actually do at least 3 gigs a week for 3 months, you'll never find out whether you're a band or not.
That's right.
So these days it's all session, copy this. Oh, look, man, can you fill in and play that? And you get chord charts or whatever, and it's not the same.
Or the film clip.
And it's not the same as the juices that can come from an inspired state. And that means working at it. And I think that's a subtle difference. Back then, that's what was happening. And so you had so much creativity.
Even the fact that, you'd know, that a lot of material that you would write, by the time you'd been out on the road with the band for even, say, 4 weeks, the song may have turned into something else completely different.
Absolutely.
It evolved.
Absolutely. And if all those connections were right, that song will evolve into being a piece of magic. And if you look at most of the great songs that ever come out of Australia, they're magic. I mean, you've got your poppy stuff, but I'm talking about, the really amazing songs that have happened, and they've happened from that spontaneity from the fact that everyone's worked together. And that's really what it's about, in my opinion. That's what I play music for.
We're going to see one of your clips.
Great.
And it's called...
Well, I think you're going to play What Do You Know?
Would you like to intro it? Intro yourself, because you're very good at it.
Well, this is a song called What Do You Know? And the first lyric of it is, what do you know? Is it the truth? Is it real? And do you mean it? And I hope you like it. Oh, and it's shot on my place with my horses, and it's fantastic fun.
Trevor, thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. Great to see you again.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.